Beautiful scenery from one of the former crown jewels of the Lower Antilles and Kingdom of the Netherlands. Hey everybody, I'm Jay Adams, Fight Zone TV. Well, if you've been watching any Fight Zone TV recently, you've probably noticed a distinct increase in the distance we've been traveling to bring you only the finest MMA action. Just got back from Hawaii, where we brought you X1 footage. Also had a return trip from Ireland, where we had some exciting Cage Warrior fights as well. This one has to be the most scenic and definitely the most relaxing location that we've ever visited. On this week's Jay's Brawl Call, Vendetta Promotions brings you a night of vengeance from Aruba.
Ready to turn, everybody. The Iceman! Oh, big right punch to the chin. Like a mini corner right here, left, right. Oh, Joe Kennedy's in all kinds of trouble.
Champion of the world. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Welcome to Jay Adams Brawl Call.
Yes, we are still here in the former crown jewel of the Southern Antilles and the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and I have a voice next to me that you are no doubt going to recognize. I'm going to have him say a couple words. Close your eyes, everybody at home. Close your eyes and relax. Remember, we're on the most relaxing island, the happy island in the world. So close your eyes and relax. You're going to recognize this voice. Say a couple things for me, stranger visitor here.
Welcome into another exciting episode with Jay of MMA Action.
You recognize that voice, of course, because it is world-class sportscaster Kenny Rice. And I think this bodes very well for the sport of MMA. The fact that Kenny Rice is calling MMA means it's around to stay. Now, I'm going to toot your horn. I know you won't do it, Kenny, so I'm going to toot your horn a little bit here. Since 1999, the Kentucky Derby, Preakness, the Belmont Stakes, NBC, Breeders' Cup, the Athens Games. Guys, when you're in television, the Olympics, really, speaking of the crown jewel, that's what you're trying to get to, the Athens Games. This guy's been around HDNet, college football, basketball, the Wooden Classic, mixed martial arts, of course, racing, ESPN since 1982, NFL, college football, Major League Baseball. Enough with the toot and the horn. This guy's huge, and the fact that he's in MMA makes me very excited. Kenny, thanks for being with us.
Jay, a pleasure to be here. I don't know if that just makes me old for being around all this time.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's a pleasure for me to get to talk to you. Been watching your show. We got a mutual friend, and Bob Newmeyer. Back in the day, you're calling the races with Newmy. Talk about your evolution as an anchor and as a reporter in sports, and we'll get to MMA. But first, just give us a little background on how you got to where you are.
Well, I started, like a lot of guys like you and most of us in the business, really young, really a teenager, and like one thing kind of led to another. Having been a decent enough weekend kind of athlete, I've always appreciated sports, and especially those who really attain the top level, either high college or going on to the pros. So it's always been something I've enjoyed covering, and I've covered about 21 different sports.
And I have to say that this traveling the world thing with Boss Rutan, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that pretty close to the top of the list in terms of fun?
I've never had more fun, seriously, in 30 years of doing this than I've had with Boss in the last 3 years. We've worked together from the International Fight League to the HDNet Inside MMA, and we've almost made the whole circle now around the globe. We've made it over to Japan. We're here in Aruba, so I guess we've got to try to work in Europe and things in between, and then Boss and I will have literally circled the globe together.
Inside MMA, an extremely highly produced show. I know that everybody in MMA circles are so glad you guys do this. What's it like doing the show? How is the show doing? You got a new season coming up. Tell us all about it.
Well, what makes the show, Boss Rutan makes the show. I mean, he knows more about the game than anybody. And then the fact that, as we get more established, and we've really been fortunate since day one. Most of the fighters, the promoters, and I think the fans, they realize we were the first to start doing this weekly network show. And it's just all about MMA, and we show highlights all over the place. No organization is too small, because as you know, there's obviously one or two really huge organizations, but there's a lot of great regional fighters, stars that are up and coming that I'm really proud of the recognition we've been able to give them. And truthfully, the big stars, Couture and Liddell and all the guys that we've been fortunate to have on, I think they've also appreciated that fact, because they know that's where the next crop's coming up. Somebody's got to be the next star 10 years from now, just like in the NBA. Somebody will come along and replace Kobe and LeBron like they came along and replaced Michael Jordan.
It's an interesting format where you have the two anchors, you and Boss, and then you have three rotating guests. You're bringing in people from all aspects of the sport. Tell us a little bit about that and maybe some of the more memorable interviews.
Gina Carano is always a good interview. She's fun, and she's, I think she's just really been a pioneer as far as breaking through for women in MMA. Randy Couture is such a class act, and now I must stop because I'm going to name off like 4 or 5 more and forget about another dozen or two, because we've done over 100 shows now. We've had over 250 or 275, I think, something in that neighborhood, different guests. So you got all those different guests on there, and, we've had some people that have been on that have been really surprising, and they're a little more shy than people think. And then we've had others that are just a little more out there than you would think.
We're here in Aruba to cover Vendetta's Night of Vengeance. A very interesting format. They're using the tournament format again. It's a light heavyweight tournament. Your thoughts overall on the tournament type of model, and how does that change how you're going to cover it, and how does it change how the fighters prepare? There's a good possibility that these light heavyweights might fight 3 times in a night.
Yeah, I think that this is an exciting concept. I mean, it's a new organization. It's I think they've gotten known quickly in the MMA circle because of this, because they have gone old school. I mean, this is kind of what established the UFC, was the durability. You're running a marathon, you're getting hit all the way. I mean, that's what it is. You got to win 3 fights in one night. I think a lot of skills involved. I really think a lot of luck's involved too sometimes. You don't want to be the guy that gets cut and you're winning a fight and you get cut and you can't continue on, so you have to hope for that. But to win that many fights in one night, I mean, you think of 3 fights in one night, that's that would be the equivalent of playing about a couple of football games, and Peyton Manning's going to go out and play 2 football games today. It's a real test of endurance and stamina and the whole thing, as well as talent. And I think it's going to bring a lot of great recognition to Vendetta, and they deserve it. This is a brilliant concept to bring this back, because here in the United States, there really aren't that many tournaments anymore, and not that many tournaments especially that brings in athletes from coast to coast in the U.S., as well as a couple of the local heroes in Aruba that we're going to see, and a Brazilian fighter as well. So it's a true international class that they're here.
Yeah, and also some other fights outside of the tournament look exciting as well. The main event, Shoney Carter, Mr. International, is in the house, and I understand we have some fun footage on him. You had a good time interviewing him as well.
Yeah, Shoney is Mr. International. I don't know how old he is. Nobody knows how old he is. I'm not sure at this stage that Shoney remembers how old he is. So there's some little bit, he is really the most flamboyant, enigmatic guy I've met in MMA. And I say that with all due respect, because Shoney is a genuinely great guy. He's a wonderful showman, and he is a terrific fighter. I think Aruba is the first country that he's been to that he hadn't fought in like, 10 years or something. He's fought in over 24 countries. He's working on his 4th or 5th passport. He has to keep changing them out. That's how much he's traveled in 2 decades of doing this sport. And so, Shoney is a real pioneer in the sport in many ways and still a very viable fighter.
And before we go real quickly, some exciting light heavyweights we should have touched on a little bit earlier. Aaron Stark, Carmelo Marrero, Antoine Britt are all on this light heavyweight tournament, and there's some also good fighters as well.
Yeah, and everybody's got kind of their own style. Stark's become more of a striker. He's been a wrestler, a great wrestling background that he brings in. Antoine Britt's a really interesting guy. This guy doesn't get past the first round. He finishes like that. He's coming into the tournament on a 7-second knockout. And I asked him yesterday, I said, you realize if you keep at this pace, you could win this tournament in 21 seconds. I don't think it's going to happen. But, he's that kind of guy that he's talented enough and delivers a big punch. I think he'll be one to watch. But seriously, I think out of the 8 guys, not even hedging on this, I think that there's at least 4 guys, maybe 5 guys that you could say could win this and nobody would blink. So when you got over half the field, or at least half the field that could win this, it's like the Final Four thing coming in here. Flip a coin, let's see who's out there.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have the call in Washington with Antoine Britt and Jamal Patterson, and Jamal Patterson said, "Yeah, I'm gonna stand with Antoine. I'm gonna chip him up." And right out of the gate, Antoine drops him with a jab. That's how strong Antoine is. Dropped Jamal Patterson with the jab. Jamal went right back to the ground.
Yeah, he's incredibly strong, and I think it's going to be the winner of this fight, the winner of this tournament, as you know, is not going to be the guy that's going to win these things by decisions. Somebody's going to have to either have a knockout, TKO, or come up with some submission as this goes along. You don't want to pile up the rounds and the minutes in there and then get to the championship and your 3rd fight of the night and think you're still a fresh fighter. So I don't think that guys who grind it out are going to win this tournament.
All right, well, I promised you I was going to get you off the dock. We're both melting here. I've been greedy with your time.
Actually, this is the only interview I've ever done where I do feel I got a tan, and it's actually worked out really well. It's a little toasty out here, but, it is like 95 and humid, but you got a tan, Jay, so this is nice to be on with you and to also enjoy the sun.
Sunny Aruba, tough duty with world-class sportscaster Kenny Rice. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure, Jay. Thank you.
All right.
What's up? This is Gina Carano, and you're watching Fight Zone TV.
Former 3-time King of Pancrase, former UFC heavyweight champion of the world. There he is right there, Bas Rutten. El Guapo is in the house. Can I sit? Can I possibly ask you a couple questions? I am so sorry to wake you up. I know it's kind of rude the way I woke you up there, but we're so excited to talk to you. We're so excited. For a while there, it was a little bit dicey. Kenny Rice had promised me I'd get to talk to you, and you didn't make it on the boat. Got a little bit worried. Where were you?
I left a little later. You know, I had breakfast coming, and I was told that the ring chick was going to bring it. Of course, they made fun of me. That was not.
Well, we are thrilled to have you on this fight. We're talking with Kenny Rice a little bit earlier, talking about you guys traveling all over the world, doing shows. Nice gig.
Oh, very nice gig. I was driving over to the airport from home, and I'm sitting in the car that I always wanted, and I drive into the airport and I go, man, I love my life. You know, going to Aruba, talk about fighting, something that I already wanted to do already when I sit watching a fight, and then actually get paid for it. It's kind of cool.
What a career you've had, finishing up your career the way every fighter dreams to. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, 22 wins in a row. You even came back after a 5 or 6 year layoff and won that fight in the first round. This is how every fighter wants to go out. What an illustrious career.
It was great, right? It was crazy. I'm very proud always. I always talk about my record because people still think that I'm a striker. And I'll say, listen, for my 28 wins, I got only 3 decisions, 13 submissions, and 12 knockouts. So I actually got 1 more submission than I have knockouts.
Hi, this is Lou Ferrigno. You are watching Fight Zone TV. Keep watching.
All right, boss, this new promotion, Vendetta, really bringing it. They're out of North Carolina, coming here to Aruba. That shows me right there they're very serious about bringing a real interesting, exotic, high-level show. The card is definitely impressive. A light heavyweight tournament. How do you feel about calling the tournament format?
I love it. First of all, they should have done it in November because remember, the 5th of November, the V from Vendetta. I always got to do crazy stuff. It's in my head, and I got to throw it out because if I don't, I get crazy. I love the tournament, bringing it back. And that's probably the reason we do it in Aruba, because I don't think that the Athletic Commission allows it in America. But I like the format. You know, sometimes I say, is it real? You know, fair, because if somebody gets hurt, and that's the only question. You're really going to find out who's the toughest dude here. Let me tell you that, because imagine you fight a two-round battle. You know, it goes to a split decision, so you know that they have been fighting really, really hard split decision. Now, your other guy drops the guy in 5 minutes. You see, and then going to the second round. Now, in the second round, you kick somebody, and you kick with your ankle, you hit his elbow. You know, and when you give it a little bit of time, which is the worst, because if you keep fighting, it's okay with the ankle. But then if you give it a little bit of time, the foot starts swelling up. Then you start limping, and then you got to go to the finals. You see, all those things. So you have to stay away from injuries, and you got to make sure that you drop your opponent as fast as you can, of course, submit him.
A great number of quality fighters in the light heavyweight division in this tournament. You got Aaron Stark out of Team Quest. Carmelo Marrero, Antoine Britt, who looked phenomenal in his last fight, had a 7-second knockout. We also have a fight outside of the light heavyweight tournament, and it's the main event. And I've been lucky enough to call a couple of his fights. One of the funnest guys in the sport, and that, of course, would be Mr. International Shoney Carter.
Shoney is a great guy, man. I don't know one person who doesn't like Shoney. He's one of those guys, you walk into a room and you like him. You know, he's honest. You know, his comedy and his behavior, it's real. It's not, people say, oh, he's walking around with the suits like that. That's Shoney. He just walks around like that. It's the same another commentator I know, he says, oh, he has a fake voice. No, that's his voice. You know, people, they give stamp, so to say, to personalities really fast. Ah, that's a fake guy. Shoney's as real as they come, and on top of that, he can fight, you know. And he fought a lot of fights. And you know, when you ask him what is your strength, well, whatever they're gonna give me, you know. It's not like he's gonna see if he can take the guy down and then go for one certain submission or only a ground and pound. No, this guy's gonna do everything that his opponent's gonna give to him. Your opponent makes a mistake, bam, he's gonna capitalize on it. Zip, bada bing, bada boom, he's got him.
That fight in the light heavyweight tournament coming up next month. Check your local listings on sunsportstv.com, msnfoxsports.com, and also really quickly as we wrap up, there's also a female fight on this card, guys.
You know, it's great. We had one of the girls, she's so well spoken. She looks like she's 17 years old. She has 3 kids. Her husband is here too. And oh my God, she's so well spoken, so innocent looking. She told us that she wraps like a pillow almost around her ironing board and starts hitting it in the kitchen. That's the way she trains, you know. And she has a real good look on life, you know. She just wants to do it because she likes the challenge, and that's why she's here. And I think her opponent also, it's very, she's a tough cookie. And both these girls fight their first fight. Both of them had a little bit of trash talking going on at the press conference. So, you know, for the first show to start trash talking already, I like it. And I think this fight also is going to be a good fight. It's not going to go the distance.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at Carano, a cyborg, you know, with the Strikeforce, great ratings. And I noticed without exception that when you have a female fight on the card, at least half the times it ends up becoming fight of the night. And it's only 1/10 of the card, and 50% of the time it's fight of the night. These girls listen to their corners, and they almost always will stand and trade.
You know, the thing is with this, people don't expect anything. Like the bar is not high. When they're going to go to a girl fight, it's going to suck anyway. And then, if it suddenly starts, whop, it's a big difference. It's like a big fight from 2 guys. And they go, oh, this is going to be the best fight there is, and then it's a boring fight. And sometimes when you look the fight back, it's not that boring. But because you put the standard here, you know, that kind of made it boring. And I think that's what's going on with the women fighting. People go, they can fight. You know, they have that. The level is here, and suddenly they see the bar is right there, and that's a big difference, and that's why they like it. That's why they stand out.
All those fights we talked about, light heavyweight tournament, Shoney Carter in the house. He will be fighting, and a girl fight coming up next month. Again, check your local listings, sunsportstv.com, msnfoxsports.com. Go to martial arts, check out the listings. It'll be under Fight Zone TV, Vendetta, a night of vengeance. El Guapo, a sheer pleasure for me.
Yo, thank you so much. Godspeed, everybody, and party on.
We are here with the owners of Vendetta Promotions, Chris Allen, Chad Pizzino, and Doug Schlosser. First off, I got nothing but love for these guys because they're having their fight in Aruba. Chris, we were talking earlier off camera, and you were saying you really feel like that Aruba could be a very strong location for you. A very inexpensive flights, reasonable housing, reasonable hotels, reasonable accommodations, and the tables, lots of casinos, and the tables are very friendly here.
That's correct. What really piqued our interest in the first place was the fact that, you know, there are tons of casinos here. The climate is perfect all year round. It's cheap. There's direct flights from, you know, most big cities in the U.S. You can do this or you can do Vegas, in my opinion, and why not do this? You know, I mean,
if you have the option between Vegas and Aruba, I know which way I'm going.
It's a no-brainer to me. I mean, it's a no-brainer to me.
Chad, you've been going absolutely nuts. We're not too far away from fight time. People calling and pulling you in about a million different directions. What is your role in the organization, and what are you looking forward to in Vendetta's future?
Well, I'm the fight coordinator, and yes, I am running around like I'm crazy today. The future, what we want to do is continue the tournaments here in Aruba. We love Aruba. We love the Renaissance here, especially the convention center. It's a great location to put on these fights. And basically what we want to do is give the fighters an opportunity, you know, to hone their skills and you know, show me what you're all about. And I think doing that is fighting in a tournament. So tournament-style fights, you don't see that very much these days. So you can actually go in and come out of the ring in one night and say, hey, I kicked, you know, 3 guys' butt.
I love that tournament old school style. We were talking about that earlier on, and that really is a fun format. Doug, you are the dotting the I's and crossing the T guys. You're the accountant, and you're the guy who keeps these guys on the straight and narrow, I would imagine.
Well, I try to. Yeah, I'm good friends with Chris's family. And about 9 months ago, we just started talking about this, and Chris had some great ideas, and we thought that the 3 of us would be a good mix. We all bring something different to the table, and we thought that this would really work out as a good team.
So we got a big fight tonight. You got the tourney. You got Shoni Carter going up against Derek Noble. You also have a female fight, which people love. It's going to be a very exciting night, and I know that you want to keep this thing going.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we're not doing this for a one-time thing, and I hope, you know, after the show, you know, everybody realizes that this is going to keep happening. We look at this almost like a World Series or a World Cup of MMA. I mean, whoever wins these tournaments is, like Chad said, you're a bad man. You get through these tournaments. You know, and if we could bring that person back, you know, each time and keep doing these things and finding a champion over and over again, I mean, that's the recipe, I think, right there.
Absolutely. You want to keep this thing quick, so I'll just ask you one more question, Chad. You know, this airs throughout all the southern states. You guys are North Carolina based. Anything you want to say to the people out there to get them excited about how beautiful Aruba is and get them to come on down here?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, everything about Aruba is beautiful, especially this island is great. So the next time we have an event here, you better come down because you're going to miss a heck of a show. It's a great area, great people, friendly atmosphere, and when you come down, you're not going to want to leave. So I recommend next time, buy your plane ticket, come down, buy your fight ticket, then go to the beach.
I can vouch for what he said. I vouch for all 3 of these guys. This island is great. They call it the Happy Island. Very friendly people, beautiful atmosphere. It's about a 2-hour flight out of Miami, so it's very, very quick. I'm sure you can get some direct flights out of some other southern states as well. So definitely check them out. And what's the website?
www.mmavendetta.com.
Check them out, and very, very huge luck to you, all 3 of you guys tonight.
Thank you.
Vendetta's Night of Vengeance. Should be a great card. You have that light heavyweight tournament that's going to be fabulous. You have Shoni Carter, Derek Noble as the co-main event, and you also have that female fight. We will be airing the entire card throughout this month and the next month. If you want to check when that's going to be on, for Sun Sports TV, go to sunsportstv.com, check your local listings, and for Sports South, go to msnfoxsports.com, and you can get the listings there as well. So, from sunny Aruba, I'm Jay Adams saying we'll see you next time on BrawlCall.